that time of the week again, and like promised, we're back with the latest from the cultural scene. But first, the main stories. Oriental music therapy. Old ain't gold, it's vintage. And in conversation with poet Hushang Merchant. On Valentine's Day, I witnessed love and healing of a different kind at the residence of the Turkish ambassador. And now I take you there. It was a small and intimate gathering, and we were all invited to experience the best from Turkey. Glass art is one of the most traditional handicrafts of this country, and it has been around since the time of the Ottoman Turks. Glass artwork of celebrated artist Kurum was on display. Each piece in this collection is inspired by glass art of the bygone era and with finer detailing done on it using gold and semi-precious stones. Glass art at its creative best.
So we have the glass artist visiting from Turkey, and he brought his extraordinary work with him, and his name is Mr. Gürbüz Kurum from Istanbul. And we also invited the Sufi musicians today, Mr. Oruç and Miss Azize Güvenç, and they are doing actually healing Sufi music. So they gave us like 20 minutes of demonstration about their music.
The central courtyard of the house was beautifully decorated, and soft music played from a 100-odd-year-old rabab, adding to the magic of the setting. Tumata, as the musician couple is called, have been exploring the effects of Central Asian music, movement and dance in a spiritual and medical context.
What you heard today was a part of shamanic music, which still is used in healing therapy today. And also you heard some specific tonalities, we call it makam. And there is an old knowledge that every makam is related to a special organ or to a special emotion, or there is one day it's influencing more than the other day, something like this. And we know that from old literature. And also today with modern science techniques we find out that it is really still working.
They use traditional musical instruments like rabab, ney and oud to create music which they say has the power to heal. The sound and the rhythm of the universe are all tuned to music, and when the right notes are struck, the mind is set to respond to it, irrespective of the genre. And when it is Sufi music that you're listening to, the healing becomes a spiritual experience. Now, Spikmeke is a group that has been working with students to familiarize them with art and music of India. At Virasat 2012, an event that they organized at the Maulana Azad Medical College, they tried to breathe in some creative air into the lives of medical students. The setting was done in Baitak style, and everyone was set for a musical journey across the deserts of Rajasthan. Ustad Rehmat Khan Langa and his team began with some traditional folk numbers, but not before explaining to the eager children the finer nuances of Rajasthani folk sangeet.
activity, the whole music was so different and so refreshing for us, because in a medical college, you're so surrounded by studies, your practicals, your patients, and this sort of an activity, it was so different, it was so refreshing for us. It was such a change we needed.
Bollywood films have borrowed heavily from traditional Rajasthani folk music. And what could be a better way of explaining than through examples?
Very nice. It's very changed from what we see. It's very, मतलब ये आपको अपने culture से जोड़ा. It's very nice. It's like you are getting both of the tastes. It's not like you're getting bored. He's getting back to you from popular numbers to something very folk which you had never heard. It's a very nice balance.
The youngest member in the team stole the heart of the listeners through his flawless rendition of music and the charming use of language. Using traditional wind, percussion and string instruments, the melody of the desert was recreated tunefully. For the staff and the students at Maulana Azad Medical College, Virasit is an annual event that they look forward to, and it has rightfully found a place in their college calendar. Well, it is now time for us to take a small break, but Colors of India will be right back. Welcome back. Delhi got a glimpse of the bygone era at the Statesman Vintage and Classic Car Rally, and here now we take you there. It was a nostalgic drive for Delhi's car lovers when Willy Jeeps, the Morris and original Fiats lined up next to classic models like Jaguar, Chevrolet Impala and Austin. Each of these were freshly polished and newly shined and looked as good as they would have on the day they were bought.
This is the vintage car and classic car rallies. Vintage cars are those cars manufactured up to December 1939. Any car manufactured prior to 39, it comes in the vintage car, category. 40 and onwards up to 65 comes in the classic cars. Then you have some category special interesting cars. You saw that army. These are the things, and this is our 46th rally every year hold, except 65 or on 71. We couldn't hold, otherwise we regularly hold it.
The rally was flagged off at the Statesman House and proud owners turned up in their Sunday best. Though a few of these cars spluttered and stalled, most of them rode like a dream.
We look into the condition of the car, restoration closest to the originality, color has been done as per the time color, not fancy color like that. So that doesn't actually give the restoration. Restoration is closest to the originality. We very much insist on that.
Most of these cars had a story to say. Some were here much before the Indian independence and some others were once driven by the Maharajas.
This is Raleigh 1932, fastback convertible. It was with the Rajya Sabha Algiwala.
This is a 1962 Chevrolet Impala. We've been having this car for the last 4 or 5 years. We've restored it ourselves and we've been winning for the last couple of years.
The rally also had a range of military jeeps, fire engines, troop carriers, vintage bikes and scooters, and a total of over 80 golden oldies were a part of the show. It was like travelling back in time to an age and a space that I had only seen in movies, where Willies and Morris just roamed on near-empty streets. Moving on, it is time for us to go on to an Indo-Dutch fusion music concert. A concoction of deep electronica mixed with jazz and topped with oodles of hardcore classical Indian music. This was what the Indo-Dutch musical concert was all about. Meeta Pandit, a classical Indian singer from the Gwalior Gharana, presented selected songs from her brand new album, Luminance, with tabla playing Dutch artist Heiko Dijker.
Luminance project is a very special collaboration between two artists and two different cultures, that is India and Holland, the Netherlands. Indian classical music is extremely refined in its melody, in its melodies and melodic flavor, and it's very deep and very beautiful. And there's a lot of power and feeling and emotion there. And Western music is very much based on chords and harmony. So to try to combine these two is kind of the essence of the meeting point.
They began at a slow pace with Beri Pia, a song of longing for the lover. This was a slow song with a steady build-up, rigorously working on the talim and the sadhana. The songs had components of pop, world, lounge, new age and dance music, and had fused essentials of classical Indian music.
The journey of this album has started about like 3.5, 4 years back. When I started to pen down, I also invited a lot of writers to write, started to compose, and basically they're love songs. And different aspects of love, you know, whether they be separation, of union, of yearning, you know, various beautiful forms which are depicted basically in Braj Bhasha or in the very old dialect of Hindi.
The slow start gave way to an electrifying performance on Fatal Attraction. This number was based on Rag Sohini and included a mix of all the instruments.
The Bashi was extraordinary, just beautifully played, and so much wonderful emotion. I really liked it very much. I thought it was a wonderful fusion concert. So.
The two teamed up with German saxophone and flute player Proful, who ignited the stage with his remarkable saxophone and flute recital in Piya Bin Kaise.
That fusion music is actually a very dangerous concept if it doesn't work. You know, it's two different concepts, two different streams which are artificially brought together in most instances, and therefore doesn't work in many cases. But where you can have an organic, amalgamation and organic coming together, then it's a great concept, and I think it's worked in this case.
Talk about true soulfulness in music, and this was one example of different cultures blending perfectly and well together.
Luminance is one album that we definitely need to look out for. It is now time for us to take a small break on Colors of India, but we will be right back. Welcome back. Did you know that jazz in India began in 1935 when a band from Minnesota performed in Bombay? Well, Taj Mahal Foxtrot is a story of Bombay through the jazz age.
At the Blue Frog restaurant in Delhi, the stage was set for the launch of this book. They began quite naturally with some jazz music. This was of course followed by an interaction with the author Naresh Fernandez, who spoke in great detail about his fascination with this genre of music and the book that came out of it.
Jazz was a historical period, and I think it's always interesting to look back at a certain period of the past and see what it can teach us about the present. And to me, Bombay between the 30s and the 60s was a city that was gaining a sense of confidence and gaining a sense of being international. And I wanted to look back and see what lessons we could learn from that.
Tracing Bombay's jazz history would also mean talking about the origin of jazz, its influence on Hindi film music, and of course the lives of many people who helped jazz find a home in India.
The book is essentially about Bombay having a swing time and other cities get but a passing mention. Now this week on the episode, we also have for you an interesting personality who has become the voice of the voiceless.
He edited Yarana, a book of cave writings from South Asia. An established poet in this fragment of Indian poetry, Hoshang Merchant is a professor at Hyderabad Central University and he calls himself a gender Dalit.
Sir, you are a poet primarily, but how did poetry happen to you and how did gender writing come to you?
Well, I say that poetry was forced onto me because I was always gay and I always wanted to say something because I couldn't tell what I was or who I was to anybody 46 years ago. So I had to write on paper, but then there was fear that somebody would read the paper. So I thought, let me write in secret, and the secret language was the language of poetry because you read these poets and you never understood what they were saying. So I thought I'd be that kind of a poet. Of course I wasn't because I had to say something that I could understand. but that's how poetry happened to me.
But then it must have taken immense courage for you to come out of the closet, as they say today.
No, you see, what happened to me was I was effeminate. And the effeminate gays are out before they know that they are out. And I thought I was so clever hiding my secret, and everybody knew that I was gay, and I was pretending that I was straight for social reasons. Then one day I said, Hoshang, who are you fooling? Nobody's fooled. You're a fool if you think you're fooling anybody. Please act intelligent and tell everybody from the beginning that you are gay.
If I were to ask you a personal question, did your family approve of this because this was 46 years ago?
No, they didn't approve of it. But as I wrote in a recent piece for Bachi Karkaria, I don't know if she'll put it in the Times, is that, the Parsis were forward-looking in the sense that they had education. My mother had a BA in 1944, which was a big thing even in Bombay at that time. She was the first woman from her village to have a BA. So that was a very big thing at that time. And well, it was kind of Americanized or westernized. So if a child is gay, you send him to the psychiatrist. Even today in Hyderabad, boys are beaten with straps to beat the homosexuality out. It doesn't work that way. You see, so compared to that, they were enlightened.
You call yourself the Dalit gay.
Yeah.
If you could explain that concept.
You see, I have a woman writer whom I translate from Urdu into English. Her name is Jamila Nishat. Her husband is a Marxist, she is leftist. She is not a Marxist, she is a poet. But she has great feeling and she works with the women who are illiterate girls, underage girls who are married to Arab sheikhs. You know that story, no, in Hyderabad. And she told me, Hoshang, every woman is a Dalit, no matter how highbrow. Every woman in every household has to fight for her privileges with her father, her brother, after marriage, her husband, in widowhood with her son. So that is the Dalitism of every woman. So if every woman is a Dalit, every gay child is a Dalit also in the family. We are using Dalit as a metaphor here. And I was treated worse than the servants sometimes.
With the new rule that's come out,
377, reading down a 377 is only for Delhi High Court. So it is only for the area that the Delhi High Court has jurisprudence over. Must be Gurgaon and Haryana border or something, whatever. That area of Delhi. Now this applies to people like you and me who know words like jurisprudence, High Court, reading down. There are lots of people who do not know English, who do not have the wherewithal, who are gay. Outside Delhi, there is no reading down. And the thing to do is like for a person like me to go to the court in Hyderabad and say, I challenge this law, read it down. Then because Delhi read it down, then one by one they will read it down. But see, I'm not the one to do it. Maybe there is a new gay group and they might do it. But you see, just now they're kids. They're into gay marches, gay pride parade, and fancy dress balls. All right, let them have fun. But there is more serious work.
Well, academically speaking, at least you've made an effort to get the Hyderabad University to give gender studies as a topic. but how do you see this going into other universities? Or
even in my university, I'm retiring and they have phased out the course. I think when you go full circle, then you come back to the point you start. So now my generation has done what it could. The new generation has to do it now. And I think Yarana allowed people to be more relaxed, you see? But there are also devious reasons why people do the things they do. You know, there's an ulterior motive. Single men with large incomes, they also want the gays to marry and adopt children and become like other people. This is insidious because I think that there is, just as there is a Dalit culture which is being wiped out by making them bourgeois, there's a gay culture which is being wiped out, the culture of the eunuchs.
There is a tradition in India which agrees or allows the eunuchs to be according to the Mahabharata or other literary works.
I know that there is a place in our culture for the Dalit, for the prostitute and for the eunuch. But that could be once a year or once in a lifetime. When I get married or I have a child, I'll call the eunuch to my house. And I understand that is better than nothing, you know, but the day-to-day grind that they go over. I'm not saying that Hinduism isn't kind. At the most elite level, of course, we have the concept Ardhanarishwar, which I don't even understand, even today. You know, I've written about it in my book. It's very evolved philosophy, you know, and we have everything in India. Sexuality, bisexuality, gender equality, you know, but these are ritualized ways, you know, and rituals are for special occasions. It's not a day-to-day.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us and for talking to us about an issue most of us weren't really aware of or didn't quite understand the depth of. Thank you very much. Hoshang Merchant, the man and the poet, is unapologetically bold, and his book of poetry and writings will soon be hitting the stores. Now that's all we have on this week's episode of Colors of India, but do remember to send in your suggestions and feedbacks onto our Facebook page. Also note that Colors of India is now live on YouTube and you can watch us on the move. Until we meet again, goodbye.